Yeah, so there's straight facts, and we back. And I got two guests today. Two guests. I got my homegirl Jazz,
Hi.
who actually has her own podcast, Pretty Darn Sober. So I got my homeboy fella, who I grew up with. So today I have a real good topic. And usually I talk about, music, relationships, entertainment, current events. But today I'm going to switch it up a little bit and we're going to talk about a little more serious topic that we're trying to bring awareness to and that a lot of people struggle with. So today we're talking about addiction and substance use and sometimes substance abuse. And what made me ultimately want to do this is because I feel like we all know someone who has either been on drugs, been an alcoholic. Let's just be clear: addiction come in many different forms and fashions. It doesn't have to be drugs or alcohol. It could be sex. It could be food. It could be gambling. It could be so many different things. And sometimes we all may have addictions that we're not even aware of. And I got two people here today who have dealt with that, and just wanted to bring awareness to it. And for people out there who are going through, things like that, who maybe be addicted to certain things, just know you're not alone. You're not the only one. You're not the only person who's been through it or who's going through it. And we're going to talk about that. So first, I'm going to start with you, Jazz. And I want you to tell everybody what was your substance of choice.
Well, my name is Jasmine, and I am a recovering alcoholic. So I partaked in a lot of alcohol use, which ultimately formed an addiction.
Me, my substance, starting substance was pills, but I went and got help for that, and as time went on, it got better.
One question I really have is yours was alcohol, yours was drugs. What led you to going on that path? That might be a difficult or hard question, but what ultimately led you to say, I want, like, was it just like, some people might say, hey, I started going to parties, started drinking, started going every weekend, and it turned into this. Where do you feel like it started?
For me, through therapy and just like a lot of self awareness, I realized that a lot of what started for me was just engaging in social environments as a teenager.
Mm.
The acceptance of alcohol just seemed regular. Um, and that's just what we did. That's just how we socialized. So I adapted with those spaces of socializing and pairing it with alcohol. And I thought it was okay.
The curiosity of it, and being around other people that was doing it, it made it more comfortable. Like,
Some people, I felt so. A lot of people, when they have an addiction, a lot of times, like I was saying before, they don't even know that they have an addiction. They don't even know that they have a problem. So I want you each to go and tell everybody, when did you realize that you had a problem?
Well, for me, the first time that I was able to gain awareness that this was a problem in my life was when I was not able to go into social spaces without having a drink. I knew that there was something that wasn't normal about that. And this included spaces with family, this included spaces with like long term friends. So it was places that I should have been comfortable with being myself, but I couldn't do it.
I realized it like when I was like too distant, and I was isolating myself.
Once you each had a problem, how did you get help? Because it's easy to say or think, yeah, I know I need help. I know I need help. But how, and some people would have a hard time even getting help or and just admitting they have a problem. So how did you get help?
I actually, first of all, the story was just me feeling like that my life hit rock bottom. And it wasn't from a financial aspect, it wasn't from a physical aspect, it was more spiritual for me. I felt very disconnected with myself. So when I began to realize that, I just reevaluated reevaluated what it was that was in my life. And alcohol was the number one thing that was in my life that I just felt like I didn't have control over. So once I gained awareness of that, I was able to start holding myself accountable and letting people know, like, hey, I'm actually not drinking anymore. And actually, the fact that people didn't believe in me made me want to push harder. So just taking out stepping into accountability, and then again regaining my identity, my self identity, as well as engaging in AA and those sorts of resources.
Yeah, I
Would
went
you?
to a rehab facility all the way out. It was away from the city,
Mm-hmm.
so it was like really kind of peace like,
Mm-hmm.
which was a great deal of help for me, you know. And also, it was not just a rehab facility, but also it was Christian. So,
So, do you believe that you have to hit rock bottom to ultimately get better?
I do believe that everybody's journey is different. Um, I will say that there is a significant amount of people that relate to the rock bottom experience. However, I don't think that it has to take for you to hit rock bottom to realize that you have a problem and you need to change. It can take something like what we're doing now and just gaining awareness
Mm-hmm.
that can shift your perspective on what it is that you're doing.
Do you believe you hit rock bottom before you went to rehab?
no, but I was getting closer.
Okay. Now, you had mentioned something about NA meetings,
Mhm.
and you said you went to rehab. How do NA meetings help? Also, how did rehab help?
We went to churches and gave our testimony on how we
Mm.
got here.
Okay.
And
Wow.
so it's pretty much like every Sunday, or it might be on a weekday. You know.
So you went to NA meetings before, right?
Yes, I have.
So
I mean,
do, do
I
you
experienced it.
do you feel like NA meetings help?
Yes, they do.
How do they help?
They help by raising the awareness, but also make you feel more comfortable about the addiction or habit, however you want to put it. But it makes you feel more comfortable about the your addiction, and it gives you the voice to speak up on it.
Mm.
Mm.
So NA
Okay.
is for NA is for
Narcotic.
narcotics, and then
Mhm.
AA is for alcoholic.
NAs for narcotics,
Hmm.
AAs for alcohol. So you went
Yeah.
to AA. So how do you feel like the AA meetings helped you, and if so, how?
Yes, and honestly, your testimony is amazing. But what I was gonna say is that I actually had a spiritual connection as well. I went back. I had rejoined a childhood church of mine,
Mm.
and that's typically what churches do. We give our testimonies and everything like that. They just didn't have the structure of an AA in church, so it was everything
Yeah,
was
that's exactly.
spiritual based.
Yeah, that's what I was about trying
Yeah,
to
so
find.
everything was
Mhm.
spiritual based,
Yeah.
and I found myself needing the information about just the addiction with alcohol. So
Yeah.
I reached out and got on board with an
Mm.
AA um, meeting
Yeah.
on my own. So when I got on with that, I was
Mm.
able to gain knowledge and verbiage, correct
Uh,
verbiage on what it is that
mm.
that I was experiencing. Like I didn't know anything about
Yeah.
triggers. I truly believe that because of the spiritual
Mm.
aspect of my experience, like the testimonies is actually a vulnerable space.
Yeah.
So when you're opening up and you're just giving, a higher power, just thanks for what he's done for you and where he brought you from, and you're just voicing that, it's a vulnerable space. I mean, you're being very transparent with a bunch of people that's either going to choose to be relatable in that moment and
Mm.
show compassion, or they're not.
Mhm.
But it's still you just opening up and being like your purest self. So once I tapped into that side of myself, then the journey got a lot more easier because I was able to align a lot of how I was feeling,
Mm.
and not feel any shame about anything. Like I feel triggered right now, or I feel overwhelmed. I was
Yeah.
able to just begin to connect with my experience, my journey, in a lot more just solid
Yeah.
way.
Did you struggle with going to rehab and getting help? Just period.
No, I didn't struggle. I knew I needed help,
Okay.
and it
So
was, you know, the struggle really didn't hit me till when I was actually there and by myself with all these other people I don't know, and it has been nights where it's like I couldn't sleep.
Now I'm gonna ask
Mm.
you a question. Have you guys ever relapsed or ever felt like you were going to relapse?
Oh yeah, I had that feeling like a relapse, of course.
Now, did you ever
Mm.
relapse though?
No, never. I never relapsed, but I had the feeling. It can
What did
sneak
you
up on you,
do to say
and
I'm not doing this? Like what made you ultimately like feel like I'm not going back to this? Or what
no,
helped you
just
not go back to it?
no, just where I was at and the people around me. What I'm saying? Well, not everyone, but there's certain people that was around me. What I'm saying? That was in the same boat I was in, like that felt the same thing,
Hmm.
and like we talked about it.
Mhm.
And also just me reading books and like the Bible, and just a positive environment.
I haven't relapsed, but have I thought about it? Yes. And like mentioned earlier, it's funny, not even funny that he said that, but it's a coincidence that he said that you put down one addiction for another. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not that I think about alcohol anymore. I might think about like marijuana or
Mm-hmm.
just something like that I consider to be a lightweight thing. But at the same time, it's just like you can't because of the way that you're wired.
It's one thing being an alcoholic, it's another thing just casually drinking. So you're completely just done with alcohol, period, and you don't even want to have one drink.
Well, I can't.
Hmm.
And just through self awareness, knowing that my background, my family's background, I come from a family with alcoholics. So we're genetically
Mm-hmm.
just wired that way from both my mom's side of the family and my dad's side of the family. Both of my parents had alcohol addictions. So for me, I actually adapted to that way of thinking of trying to feel like I was a casual drinker just because I was out being social with my friends. It was okay that I was doing it. But I was always a friend that went too far. And it was just because of how I was set up because I couldn't stop after just one drink. I can't stop after just one drink. So for me, unfortunately, I can't have one drink. It turns into 20.
I want you both to answer this question. When did you know during your journey that like I'm gonna be okay? I'm gonna get through this. I'm going. I'm gonna get clean or I'm gonna get sober. When did you know like, hey, was it a month after 2 months? Like how did it just how was the experience of when you knew I'm gonna be all right?
For me, it definitely wasn't like right away.
Yeah.
I would say though, coming up on a year, I got a little bit confident. And again, I was already in that space of accountability with family and friends. So not only I just count my days, but my family and friends count my days too. So they kind of just having that solid support system also helped my confidence too.
5 months,
Within 5 months?
5 months in, where I was just focused on what I wanted.
Hmm. Sometimes when you change your life for the better, no matter what it is, it could be anything in life. Sometimes you may lose friends in the process. You may sometimes lose family members. When I say lose, I mean like people who don't want to be around you no more because you changed for the better. Throughout you guys' journey, the road to redemption, to becoming better, have you guys lost any friends, any relationships because you no longer want to, you know, drink?
Well, like you said, it's really not a loss; it's a lesson.
Hmm.
But yeah, once you decide to become a better version of yourself, no matter what it is that you're doing in life, the people that aren't supposed to be around you are going to fall off. So, of course, with something such as sobriety, you're going to have those same experiences. And if you are not aware of your emotional capacity, then that can allow you to be in a depressing or, really discouraging place. I remember at one
So,
point too, it was like I was the drunk designated driver. Like where I would get invited to stuff because I had a car.
mm,
And because this person wanted to have a drink and they know I probably wanted to engage in having a drink too, so why not invite her? You know what I mean? So it was just like you do come to that space where it's just like was probably being used just because, you were in that bad state of like having that bad version of yourself just existing. You know what I mean? So it was just, I really had to see that too, where it's like, I don't see that anymore. I don't see the offers of, hey, what are you up to? You want to go for lunch? I don't see the shifting
Mhm.
at
Yeah,
all.
for me, it was what I learned: the people, places, and things. And those things, you know, I'm not saying they're completely gone, but I'm in a place where like that doesn't come my way because what actually was on drugs, it was more of like someone walking up and say, "Hey, I got this, I got that." I don't get that these days, so that's a good thing. That's actually a
Mm-hmm.
good thing.
Right.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about when like you actually under the influence or whatever, you get those people who say, "Hey, I got this, I got that. You do this." I don't get that.
Now, what advice would you guys each give to people are who are currently going through addictions, who are currently addicted to something, or people who are gotten clean
Mhm.
um, and are trying to stay clean or sober? What advice would you give to others?
It's actually in the AA meetings, AA meetings, they keep going back, or what they say, keep coming back. Don't stop coming. You know, it don't take the first one.
Okay.
I love that. For me, my advice would be to have a solid self care procedure in place, especially if you're on the road to recovery, because sometimes you can come to a space where you're just overwhelmed. Life can just be what they say, lifing. So you definitely want to have some steps set aside on how you want to bring joy back into your life or want to feel good about yourself again. And for those that just aren't aware enough to know that they have a problem or they're just questioning themselves and they're in that space of confusion, my advice for them would just be to start to start to manifest the best version of yourself. And as you begin to manifest the best version of yourself, just allow God to remove what it is that is holding you down from being the best version of yourself. And don't try to hang on to it. Don't call your girlfriend and ask her, like, hey, girl, I'm thinking about no, because it's not going to be a group thing. It's going to be just you. So just allow those things that's weighing you down to just break loose from you.
So, as we conclude, I never been to an NA meeting or an AA meeting. We all, I feel like at one point we're addicted to something. It could have been
Hmm.
food. It could have been cookies. It could have been sex.
Yeah, because,
It,
honey, I love my sweets.
yeah, me too.
I need to stop.
I think I will say I do think I am addicted to cookies, and I think I'm addicted to Salvatore's. But and sometimes it can be gambling.
Mm.
It can be so many different things that we don't know about. So if you need help, go get help. And to me, I feel like I remember I told you at the time I was like, don't feel embarrassed. Like you getting help is being brave. You know what I'm saying? And don't look at like, oh nah, people are gonna know I did this and did that. We
Mm-mm.
all go through things.
Yeah.
To me, it's a nobody's exempt. Nobody is perfect. We all go through stuff. So I just feel like when you are going through something, it's not about what happens to you. It's about
Mm.
what you do
Yeah.
about it. You
Yeah.
know, and what do you want to be? Hey, look at him in the corner. Look at her in the bar all drunk. Or, hey, he or she was like this,
Yeah.
but they got help and look at them now. They're
Yeah.
doing so great.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, yes. And I just commend the people who have gotten clean, who've gotten sober, and the people who are going through it. I just pray for them, and I hope they get better and get the help they need. And it used to be a point in time where I would laugh and like, oh, look at that snap, or look at that,
Yeah.
alcoholic. Now I'm like, no, they need help, and I hope they get that help.
Can I add
Yeah.
to that?
Yeah.
Because I do the same thing now too.
Mhm.
Because they're on their own individual journey and everybody has a story.
Mhm.
So what I once used to look at as, oh, get out of my way, or
Mhm.
excuse me, like, I don't have any money. Don't ask me for money. I don't have any change. Really rude, dismissive, arrogant, absent minded. Now I'm being in a space of clarity, self
Yeah.
aware,
Yeah.
the list goes on. So now it's just like they have their own journey.
Mm.
They have their own story.
Ultimately, Jazz, it led to you starting a podcast. And you have a podcast called Pretty Darn Sober.
Yeah.
And definitely check that out. You know what I'm saying? It's definitely, I would say, that, it's in the top 5 podcasts in Pittsburgh, for sure. So can you tell everybody how you got started with that, why you wanted to do it, and just a little bit about the podcast?
Well, I'll start with the why, because the why is very important. I had a hard time finding people that look like me. That was in that space of sobriety. Those particular environments that I would be in, or those social environments that I would be in, nobody was having the conversation. They were just like, she doesn't drink and let's move forward. It wasn't something that, was talked about enough for me. So that was really why I felt the need to become a relatable face. Somebody that looks like you, talks like you, moves like you, been in the same spaces as you, and is telling her story. So that was ultimately the why. How I got started, it's funny because I started about a year ago. So I started recording like voice memos on my phone. I would document little snippets of how I was feeling that day, or a specific topic that I wanted to talk about, or just whatever was just like on my mind. I was freely speaking. And then I began to develop my script writing. I started writing my scripts. And then I just started to do work and find out, okay, how can I put action and actually start to deliver this and actually record this and get this out there? Because it's a very much needed message in our community. I really want to, and just back to the why, just be relatable. I really want to bring awareness to a lot of similarities that we all have. Some of us are just not having the conversation. Some of us don't actually take the opportunity to create a relatable space, or even enter into a relatable space, and really be vulnerable enough to tell our stories. So I really want people to just shift their perspective on how they're living their life, or what direction they want their life to go in, or, just create a new space of just speaking on sobriety.
Just something else I wanted to say, because I feel if I don't say this, kind of would delay the message on this topic. Like after the NA meeting, after like the program, some people probably wonder like, where do I go from here?
Yeah.
But you can still be you. You just have to do things different, things better.
Yeah.
I like that. We're going to conclude with that. And I think y'all are both doing great. Y'all are both doing better. Y'all are both doing amazing. I like to see the growth. I love seeing the growth, the progression. And you guys are both ambitious people. I love it. And they did it. You guys can do it too. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can put the cookies down, and you guys can, definitely go. Don't be scared to go to rehab. Go to NAAA, and we're here for you. Just remember, you're not the only one. Definitely get help. Don't be embarrassed. And it's not what happens to you, it's what you do about it. But this is Straight Facts Podcast. Like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, and we out.